Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're tuning in from. Welcome to another mobile edition of Crime Time with Duty Ron. Guys and girls, I'm a retired New York City police detective, and if you like all things true crime related from that police detective's perspective, consider hitting the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, so you'll get all things Duty Ron and Ed Wallace when we go live or upload another video. Today, I am reporting to you from the Duck Park, local spot over by my house, and I wanted to report this video and this conversation that we're going to have from a peaceful location, a location that has peace and serenity, and at the same time have a conversation about an important topic. But I want to say thank you to you, the replay viewers, the Patreon supporters, the channel members, and everybody who engages in Crime Time with Duty Ron. Let me know. Joey already just answered my question. I was just going to say, let me know if the signal and the audio is good. We're going to go for a walk and talk at the park. Let me know by a show of hands if you enjoy these kind of live streams from the parks. The background and the backdrop is peaceful. We got the ducks hanging out, and I think the signal is strong here. But let me just propose to you guys this question. As it relates to Brian Kohlberger, he's obviously innocent until proven guilty. He stands accused of murdering 4 Idaho college students. And the surviving roommates, one in particular, I used the initials DM, but her name is out there and all over the news, and everybody's speaking about her and talking about her. Dylan, the roommate who I witnessed the perpetrator inside this location and gave a description. It took 8 hours or so, give or take, for her to report to 911. And it wasn't even her alleged to have made the phone call to 911. But it was made 8 hours later, irregardless of the situation. I have received so many emails, text messages, direct messages on all of my social media, people asking me, Ron, what's your thoughts on it? And I've touched it with Ed. Ed and I have spoken on this subject, and we feel that her testimony is going to be so important at trial, and her testimony is going to be so scrutinized by the criminal defense attorneys. We do know that. That's a fact. Her testimony will be scrutinized, and she will be questioned about what's reasonable. She was allegedly frozen in fear, as you know, per what we're hearing and looking at. She's frozen in fear. But folks, I want to know from you guys. Let me know in the comment section here how you feel about that 8-hour delay. Was it unreasonable? Was it at a reasonable amount of time? I say 8 hours is a long period of time, but we could look at so many factors that come into play. Saturday night into Sunday morning, a party atmosphere or party house. People are out. College students are out on Saturday night partying. Could she have legitimately just went to sleep in fear and then woke up 8 hours later? That's a possibility. But a lot of people aren't buying it. A lot of people are really upset with that period of time. And you know what? It's reasonable. It's reasonable, but none of us are in her mind. None of us know what she's experienced and what she's gone through or what she's continuing to go through. And I don't think it's fair for us to assess what's reasonable, right? I think that we all can use our own common sense and say, hey, if it was me, I'd be reporting that like right away, right as soon as I saw that person that looked suspicious, dressed, clad in all black, and so forth. But again, we weren't there. None of us were there. And I'm going to let that ambulance go by. Sorry about that noise. That's what happens when we're out and about. So I did about 5 laps around this beautiful park before I went live with you guys. So I wanted to get some, outside. It's 78 degrees here, Fahrenheit, in New York. Yesterday, we got close to 80 degrees. So it's really beautiful. So a walk and talk, I think, was definitely in order for today. A walk and talk was part of my plan. I'm off from work, and I figured let me give these guys a walk and talk from the beautiful park. And if you like these kind of settings to have this conversation, Kimberly Culp is here. Hi, Kimberly. If you like these kind of settings, please put a 1 in the chat. If you do not like this and you prefer all exclusive interviews and videos from my studio, put a 2 in the chat. I'm just curious to how everybody feels on these. I don't do many of these, but I like to do them. Cindy Newman says all of the kids went out that night. They did not have a party in the house. DM opened the door and heard crying, saw a strange man walking past, went into a frozen shock phase, yet she was able to identify. Again, you weren't there, I wasn't there, but I appreciate that comment. Again, we don't know if there was a party inside that house. We don't know if Dylan and her other roommate had people over. None of us were there. It's not even fair for us to even make that assumption. So again, nobody knows. It's all speculation. It's all a conversation. And when you speculate and conversate, it sometimes leads to misinformation. And that's what could possibly be happening here. But listen, my opinion and in my thoughts on this thing is, yes, 8 hours is an awfully long time to close your door and not report something that you deem to be suspicious. However, if you're a heavy sleeper, now I'm going to gauge this based on some of my experience with 2 sons who went to college, and 2 of my sons who on a Saturday night can come home at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning and sleep until 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, a bomb could go off in my house and these guys won't wake up. So, no 2 people are the same, folks. And I think it's unfair to completely and totally judge what this person did. But I will say this. Dylan is going to be requested to testify at this trial. And the prosecution is going to need her testimony to help get to a verdict in this trial against Bryan Kohberger. She is undoubtedly going to be examinated. She's going to be on the cross. They're going to go at her hard. So cross-examination when it comes to Dylan is going to be strong. And, again, we need her. We need her to help seek justice in this case. So let me look at the chat. I'm going to take a seat on the bench over here. Got a couple of black crows eating some food that was left behind. I want to show you this. So somebody left a bunch of food here. Looks like that's chicken. Woo. Yeah, it looks like chicken and bread left for the birds. So people are feeding the birds, doing their thing. But let me give you a poor man's 360. I'm going to utilize my gimbal and give you the poor man's 360 here, folks. So these things have a battery life of, they say, about 8 hours, but I'm not really sure how much battery life this thing's got. So I charged it fully, and I'm doing the walk and talk. So let me look at the comments. Jan Berry sent his strength for Dylan. Thank you for that. Deco Paint and Tea says, I love the outdoor lives. Thank you. Thank you. I love to do them. So I'll do another lap with you guys. We'll walk and talk. Let's do some walking and talking. There's a lot of fish in here. There's a lot of fish. I don't know if you guys could see it. A lot of fish, and their water is kind of there's leaves in there from the trees blowing in, so forth. But yeah, see, the fish are jumping all over the place. This is a fisherman's dream right here. Woohoo! Wow, they're going crazy. All right, let's get back to the conversation. So, again, Dylan surviving roommate, the only witness to this alleged perpetrator, is being scrutinized across YouTube, across the social media platforms, in the Reddit groups, I'm sure. A lot of conversation going on about Dylan, and questioning the amount of time that it took for her to make that 911 call. And it wasn't even her, allegedly. It wasn't even her. It was someone who used her phone to call 911. So a very, very interesting conversation to have. And you know what? I've been putting off even speaking about it because Ed Wallace and I did make a statement and said, hey, leave her alone, back off. We need her. And the reason we said leave her alone, back off, is because the prosecution is going to have to use her. And we know that. We know that she's going to be called to the witness stand. What the hell? What the heck happened here? Uh-oh. There's trouble in paradise. I don't know what the heck's happening. All right. I got it back. Woohoo! I went TikTok on you guys. I went from horizontal to vertical. That was pretty funny. All right. I'm going to stop pressing buttons. But again, a walk and talk in regards to this, I think was an important thing to do. And I wanted everyone to also take into account mental health and our well-being is important in these trying times where we're talking about, shootings, mass shootings, school shootings, trials for Lori Vallow, trials for Letitia Stout, trials for Trezell and Jacqueline West, our boys, Orrin and Orson West and Searing Classic. So many of these things that we discuss are, less than desirable. They're really, they're painful to speak about, but we have to speak about them because if we don't give these victims a voice and speak up on these cases, then it just goes quiet. People asked me yesterday about Summer Wells. Is that case going cold? And, I don't know what's happening with the case. I wish I knew. I wish that Hawkins County Sheriff would start giving updates or talking about some kind of activity. There's like no activity in regards to Summer Wells. She just disappeared, according to her mom, Candace Wells. I went inside, came outside, and she was gone. And there's no movement in that case either, So, yeah, we all, Zoe Dawn says, I think about Summer often. So do I. I think about all of these cases and, what's going on with them. What's the update? What's happening in these cases? Especially when you don't hear anything. Let me know in the comments what you think about, obviously, Dylan and the 8-hour delay, because I want to know what our community thinks, what our community is feeling. Is that an unreasonable amount of time? Is it a reasonable amount of time? What are your thoughts in regards to that? I'm going to go down to the water's edge here for a minute and take a sip of water. I'm going to put you guys down for a second. So let me know what your thoughts are. Let me also know what your thoughts are on Summer Wells and these other cases that are going on. Lori Daybell Vallow, that trial's still in full swing. Sincere and Classic, our boys from California City. And also, too, let me know what you thought of the marathon that I did yesterday. We did 3 live streams yesterday. I thought it was important to cover these cases. I am off from work. I was off yesterday and today. And I did a lot of things, got my car washed, did some chores. And I thought, let me go live. Let me go live to the people and see what's happening out there. So let me go and look at some of the chat. William Morris says, if it was me, where did that go? If it was me, but it wasn't, or you that failed to make that report until 8 hours after the fact, we'd be considered suspects. Again, that's a statement that is going into an assumption. We're assuming that. You can name anybody a suspect, but you have to have evidence against them. Harlem Raiders, Pete Pranzo, good to see you, boss. Thank you for joining. Joey Brooklyn is here. So yeah, wow, Duty Ron. Barbara George says, Duty Ron, 3 lives. You made me, you made me exhausted. You must be exhausted. I appreciate all you do. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you. Polygraph is here as well, saying hello to Dawn Marie. Let me know if the signal is good by putting a 1 in the chat. Let me know if this audio on this microphone is holding up, because there's a lot of wind and I have the little dead cat on the microphone. So I'm hoping that the little windsock, they call it a dead cat. I don't know why. I don't even like that term, but I'm using the dead cat on the top of the microphone. Hopefully that's cutting down some of the wind noise. And Monique is checking in with a 1. Mastiff Lover, 1. Agati says all good. Michelina Sereno says it's good. Thank you. L.E. Love. All right, so let's do this thing. Yeah, exactly. Ew, why did I got to call it a dead cat? But it is a photography term, and it is a legit term. So let's do this. Let's take the poll. Press a 1 in the chat if you feel that 8 hours was unreasonable and Dylan should have called sooner. Put a 2 in the chat if you feel that we don't know enough about it to start saying what's reasonable and what's unreasonable. So 1 and 2, go. Let's see what the chat's got to say. I see a bunch of 1s right out of the gate. MMM Rhino Girl, all the way from Saudi Arabia, saying 1. Barbara George, 1. Teresa, first one to chime in with a number 2. Dr. Pamela says a number 2. Princess Mitch, number 1. Telework Mom, number 2. And let me know furthermore in the chat, in the comment section down below. And if you haven't yet given this video a thumbs up, please give it a thumbs up while we're all here. All 421 of us, right away, go over and give the video a thumbs up. It's free to do that. Zephyr says number 2. I'm just scanning the chat. Deborah Farewell says, the screen is so small, sorry about the mispronunciation. Lisa D is a number 2. Bill Morris is a number 2. You know, not a lot of people are talking about this. And again, I didn't feel there was a need to talk about it, but based on user feedback, and that's folks like Sosina going into dutyron.com and asking me to comment on this. So be more like Nikki says, hey, guys, to be honest, I don't even think it's fair to judge. I'm with you on that. If you look at my statement, along with Ed Wallace's statement on this was months ago. We said, leave her alone, back off, let her be, because we're definitely going to need her to be a witness in this trial against Brian Kohlberger. And if she is not in the right mental state, as we see with Lori Shallow Vallow, she's playing games and she's trying to say, oh, I'm not in the right state of mind. You know, we don't want that. We want her to be ready to give her testimony at trial. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for, you know, for her to help us get justice for these 4 victims. So that's, I think that's what it is. Barbara says, I'm glad you're outside, Duty Ron. It's good for your mental health and soul. Yeah, it's good for all of us, you know. Agati says, yeah, back off. Don't get too personal with all these all the comments. You know, again, Legal Eagle says, Mel, it's not so much about judging, but the possibilities. You know, we can hypothesize and theorize all we want, right? But at the end of the day, only she knows what she saw. We were not inside that house. We don't know what led up to this crime and what was happening inside 1122 King Road. We don't know what was happening in the 1122 King Road residence. And we're going to hear about it during the trial, just as we're hearing stuff that we never heard about with Trezell and Jacqueline West in the trial for Sincere and Classic, our 2 California City boys, just as we're hearing gruesome details in the deaths of JJ and Tylee Ryan and Tammy Daybell in Lori Vallow's trial. These are all things that we didn't know 100% until the prosecution reveals their evidence. Now that the trial is ongoing, we're hearing these things. So all of this conversation and all of this hypothesizing and theorizing with Brian Kohlberger and Dylan and, how did this happen? Who did this? Why did they do that? Why didn't they do this? We're going to get a clearer picture once this trial starts kicking off. And I think that's what we need to concentrate on is, this conversation is good to have, but it is just a conversation. It's not known 100% solid concrete facts. So Doxy Dog Lover says, I love the duck pond. Number 1, beautiful days. Number 2, rainy days. Love your work in retirement. It's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that. And if I missed anybody with the super chats or anybody that became a new member during the course of the stream, I apologize. It's hard to see the comments in the really extreme sunlight. The footbridge is right to my left, Joe. It's right there. That's the infamous footbridge. And that's where I was tossed by the Nassau County Police. Somebody a long time ago, maybe 2 years ago, saw me live streaming here and bumped into my side. And I had my sidearm. I had my 9mm as I have right now on me, on my person. And they called the police. Said, someone's here with a gun. Might be a bad guy. And the police came. They didn't come with their guns drawn at me, but they did come and they asked me, do you have a gun on you? And I said, yes. All of this is on a live stream. I'll link it down below in the description so you guys can go and see that. Sandra H says, hey, I remember that. I remember that. Yeah, it happened. Real life duty run stuff. Real life duty run stuff. So that happened here at this location, at that footbridge. All right, folks. I think we did what we had to do for today. It was important to have this conversation. I hope that all of you guys will continue to engage on all of our videos. If you haven't watched the 3 that we did yesterday, please watch them in full. Watch them in full. Leave a comment. Leave a thumbs up. Help to tickle that algorithm. YouTube and the internet is a funny place. Sometimes they like what you're talking about, and sometimes they don't. Benji, as a channel member and a good friend to Crime Time with Duty Ron, Benji says, I agree. It's not fair to judge her. Yeah, I agree as well. I agree. Thank you, Dawn Marie. Designs by Kayla is here. Thank you for sharing your insight with us. You're welcome. Jan, thank you. Vicky, thank you. Teresa, thank you. League of Minded Friends, Karen, always great to see you in the UK. I want to say something to Jeff W. He is a Patreon supporter, a channel member, and a good friend of Crime Time with Duty Ron. He's from the state of Wyoming. Jeff sent in a box of goodies. I have it in my car. I just went to the post office and got it. I can't wait to get home and open that up. So Jeff W, thank you. I'm not going to dox you and put your last name out there, but Jeff W, thank you for the box of goodies from the great state of Wyoming. I can't wait to get it home. The label on it says Fish and Wildlife, and I'm not sure what I'm going to open that box and find, but I'm sure it's going to be a bunch of goodies from your beautiful state. So thank you, Jeff, for the package to Duty Ron post office box at my P.O. box. I always like to receive cards and goodies. And there was a bunch of cards in there, too, from you guys. So thank you for all the cards and well wishes and letters and words of encouragement. I'm telling you, there's so many great communities on YouTube, but this community is second to none. I really give thanks and praise to all of you guys. Deborah Keeler is saying hello to the Canadian geese. She's having a good time. Don's Ulcer says, Duty Ron, NYPD's finest, retired. Thank you. Thank you. Deetra Ed says, it's uncalled for, is what I think. Yeah, we want to remember all of these cases. And Benji's talking about Gannon Stout. Yeah. Stephanie says, you stole our geese. They choose to fly and come and hang out with us. The geese like to fly south from Canada because it's too darn cold over there. So the geese come back and they hang out over here. Janice, you're going to have to catch the replay. Unboxing live. Yeah, that's a good idea. The Dietrich Ed says, I mean, I can fall asleep and wake up in 8 hours. Yeah. I mean, again, we talked about it on this live stream. Yeah, it's close to 80 degrees. Southwest 4x4 says, I totally wish I could walk around that pond. It is beautiful. I did 6 laps here today. 6 laps around the park. And I'll give you guys a little bit of a look. It's like a walking trail here. So it just goes all the way around. And really nice. There's an actual park and a playground over to the left over here. There's a park and a playground over to the left where you can take your kids and they can go and play and so forth. Richella Pranzo, always good to see you. When Pete's here, you know Richella's here. She said, who's got time to sleep? Sleep's overrated. It is gorgeous out. Kitty, it's awesome. Janine Dub says, in the 40s in Washington, Pacific Northwest. Yeah, Kitty KU says it's so nice out. Yes. 93 in Arkansas. Tina Gaines, enjoy that beautiful weather. Get out there, stretch your feet out, and take a walk around just like I did. Now, on StreamYard, it's hard to turn the camera around. It's not as easy